The Imitation Game is an American drama film based on a true story and released in the year 2014. The plot of the film follows a Cambridge mathematics alumnus, Alan Turing, who leads a team of cryptographers as they work relentlessly to break the Germans' notorious Enigma code during World War II. Through teamwork, Alan creates a machine that can decipher the codes. The film starts in 1951 in Manchester, England, with a famous mathematician and professor, Alan Turing, sitting in the police interrogation room narrating his book to Knock, the policeman. Prior to this, the Secret Intelligence Service, M16 headquarters, received a tip that Alan Turing's house was being robbed. In the next scene, two policemen, Knock and Stahl, are seen investigating Alan's place the next day after the burglary. They don't notice anything apparent missing from the house. Alan is also present there and claims that nothing was stolen. The officers are there because a neighbor called in last night reporting a break-in at Alan's place, but Alan won't admit it and politely asks the officers to leave. Knock finds Alan suspicious and thinks that he's hiding something. Alan then narrates his story of the time he worked at Bletchley Radio Manufacturing during the Second World War. In 1939 London, 27-year-old Alan is seen at a train station boarding a train. Through news broadcasting over the radio, we find out that during this time Britain is at war with Germany. Alan goes to the Bletchley Park where he meets Commander Denniston, who is at first impressed with Alan for publishing a paper at such a young age, 23 to be precise. Turns out Denniston is interviewing Alan for the post of a cryptographer for his secret program to decrypt German communications. Upon knowing that Alan doesn't know German, Denniston loses his cool. But as soon as Alan talks about the German Enigma machine, Denniston is surprised. The Enigma machine is the greatest encryption device the Germans use for all communications, and Denniston wants to break it. Soon, Alan joins the cryptography team that has 5 other members: Hugh Alexander, John Carson-Across, Peter Hilton, Keith Furman, and Charles Richards. Denniston introduces them to the Enigma machine that he managed to smuggle through Polish intelligence, but doesn't know how to break through the coded messages. It's because the Germans switch settings every day, promptly at midnight. Alan is thrilled to start working on the machine, but considers his colleagues inferior. He wants to have a separate room for work, but his demand is refused. Every single German message, every surprise attack, every bombing running, every imminent U-boat assault are all floating through the air in the form of radio signals, but the trick is that they are all encrypted. After intercepting the radio signals, there are millions and millions of possibilities, each of which had to be checked. It was impossible to check them all in a day. Whilst ignoring his teammates, Alan alone starts designing a machine that can decipher every Enigma message. Every day, instantly. He works day and night to come up with a design. The scene goes back to the present in 1951 when Knock finds out that Alan has his military records classified. So he forges a letter from Foreign Office to get Alan's service records checked. Back in 1939, Alan is enraged after Hugh, the in charge of the team, denied his requisition for the equipment that he needs. Alan asked Denniston to fire all his co-workers and fund the construction of his machine. According to him, instead of manpower, a machine can only compete with another machine for which he wants £100,000. Denniston instantly refuses, so Alan decides to write a letter to Denniston's commanding officer, who happens to be Prime Minister Winston Churchill, asking him for the funds. Winston agrees to fund Alan's idea and puts him in charge of the team. Alan instantly fires Keith and Charles as he thinks that they're poor and mediocre code breakers. The rest of the team members are upset with Alan and his inhumane decision. The scene cuts to 1928 when Alan is seen at a boarding school. He's bullied by his classmates all the time. One day he's locked in a coffin by the bullies and his friend Christopher helps him out. Back in 1939, Alan places a difficult crossword in newspapers to find and hire new members for his team. Amidst the war, many individuals try to solve Alan's crossword and qualify. Alan then decides to hold a test for the qualified candidates. Among all the male candidates, there is only one female, Joan Clark, a Cambridge graduate who manages to complete the test before the given time and passes it. Finally, Joan and Jack are selected for the mysterious program. Back in 1928, Alan finds his friend, Christopher, reading a book on cryptography which sparks his interest in it. The scene cuts to 1940, when Jack arrives at Bletchley Park for his first day. Alan's worried as Joan didn't show up, so he goes to her house. Turns out her parents are not in favor of allowing Joan to work with the male faculty. So Alan manages for Joan to live and work with the female staff who intercept the messages. Joan is curious to see Alan's efforts and asks him why he's helping her. Alan tells her that his only mission is to decipher the Enigma code and that he can't ignore her exceptional cryptography skills. In the present, Nock discovers that Alan's war records aren't just classified but are non-existent. He suspects Alan to be a Soviet agent and informs his senior about it. Back in 1940, Joan arrives at Bletchley Park and Alan is happy to see her. Meanwhile, Hugh is sick and tired of struggling to decipher the messages. In his fury, he goes to destroy Alan's work-in-progress machine but is stopped by his teammates. Alan feels overwhelmed and goes to meet Joan in the middle of the night. He gives her actual decrypted Enigma messages direct from Nazi high command and asks her to find a relation between the encrypted and the decrypted messages so that he can feed it into his machine he named Christopher. Joan is astonished to hear Alan's idea of his machine. The next day, Alan arrives at Bletchley only to find that it's being raided. The Navy thinks that one of the team members is a Soviet double agent and spy. Denniston suspects Alan to be the spy and warns him that if he gets caught, he will be hanged for treason. Alan is upset, so Joan takes him to the bar for a drink. There she meets Alan's team and asks Alan to be nice to everyone if he needs all the help. So Alan begins to be nice to his teammates, who in turn start to respect him. In the next scene, Hugh helps Alan with an idea that can improve his machine. Finally, Alan's machine is constructed but is unable to determine the Enigma setting quickly enough as the Germans change them every day. Soon, Denniston finds out that Alan's machine is of no use, so he orders it to be destroyed. Alan freaks out and begs the officers to stop, but Denniston is tired of waiting for Alan to come up with something valuable and decides to fire him. However, when the other cryptographers threaten to leave if Alan goes, Denniston relents and gives them a month to get the machine working. In the present, Stella discovers that Alan is gay. However, Nock is irritated as he is into something bigger and wants to interrogate Alan. So the senior officer demands to get a warrant for Alan. Back in 1941, Joan informs Alan that she is leaving Bletchley as her parents want her to get married. To stop her from going, Alan proposes marriage, and she accepts. During their engagement reception, Hugh asks Joan to dance, and they are dancing. Alan confirms his homosexuality to John. He asks John whether or not he should confess it to Joan. John warns him to keep it a secret as women tend to be quite touchy in this regard. Turns out, during his school years, Alan started liking Christopher. Back in the present, Alan is being interrogated by Nock, who keeps asking him his thoughts on machines. He also asks Alan what he did during the war, and Alan lies that he worked in a radio factory. Back in 1941, Alan and his team are struggling to make the machine able to process millions of possibilities to decode the messages quickly, but to no avail. Hopeless, Alan and his teammates go to a bar where Hugh is attracted to one of Joan's friends, Helen Stewart. Hugh and Ellen keep eyeing each other, and Joan finds their flirting very much interesting. Hugh asks Alan to introduce him to Ellen, and the four of them chat for a while. During the conversation, Helen mentions German messages that she receives for interception. All of a sudden, Alan realizes that he can program the machine to decode words he already knows exist in certain messages. Alan inquires more about the messages and rushes to his machine to implement his idea. All his teammates along with Joan follow him. According to Alan, since Christopher isn't able to search through all the settings, it can work if they feed certain predictable and repeated words in it. So they start looking for repeated words and find out that one German coder always includes the weather report in the morning messages. This can reveal the Enigma code that Christopher can quickly decode. Alan quickly recalibrates the machine, and this time it quickly decodes a message. Alan rushes over to the Enigma machine to intercept another message and learns that it is easy for them to decode the messages if they know repetitive words. The cryptographers jump out of excitement at their victory as they've defeated Nazism with a crossword puzzle. The next day, after decoding the messages, Joan realizes that a convoy containing 500 civilians is about to be attacked. Hugh quickly attempts to call Denniston to inform him about the attack, but Alan stops him and both of them start arguing. Alan explains to the team that if they suddenly reroute the convoy and attack the U-boats, the Germans will realize Enigma is broken and change the machinery. This means that everything they've worked so far will go to waste. But the convoy that is going to be attacked has Peter's brother on it. Peter urges the team to stop the attack, but Alan does not relent as they cannot act on every decoded message. Next, Alan and Joan travel to meet Stuart Menzies, the top M16 agent, and inform him that they have broken Enigma, but swear to him in secrecy. It is because Alan wants to develop a system to help the army determine how much intelligence to act on. Until then, no one could know that the Enigma is broken. Soon, Alan creates a statistical model to specify which warnings to send to maximize destruction and minimize German suspicion in the largest store of military intelligence called Ultra. One day, Alan discovers a Beale cipher, the Bible on John's desk, which reveals that he is a Soviet spy. When Alan confronts him, John elucidates that they and the Soviets are on the same side and have the same goal. But Alan wants to inform Denniston about it, so John threatens to disclose his sexuality if he informs Denniston. Confused, Alan goes to meet Joan, where he finds that Menzies has sent Joan to a military prison because he thinks she is a Soviet spy. To save Joan, Alan quickly realizes that John is the spy. Turns out Menzies knew this all along and just wanted to include Alan in his plan to help him leak certain messages to the Soviets and the British through John. Alan feels unsafe as he can't trust Menzies anymore, so he asks Joan to leave Bletchley and breaks off their engagement by revealing the truth about his homosexuality. Joan tells him that she always suspected this, but proposes that they can work out their marriage anyway. Alan tells her that he never cared for her and only used her to break Enigma. And now that Enigma is broken, he wants her to go. Heartbroken, Joan slaps him and refuses to go back. She decides to stay, defying Alan and her parents' wishes. Back in the present, Alan reveals that the war dragged on for 2 more solitary years, during which he and his team decided who will live and who will die by performing their statistical analysis. Soon they win the war, after which Menzies asked the cryptographers to destroy their work because the intelligence doesn't want the government to think that they have broken the Enigma. Moreover, he asked the team to cut all ties with each other and never let anyone know what their service was during the war. In the present, Nock is shocked to hear his story. The scene goes back to Alan's school life, where his principal informs him that his only friend Christopher has died from bovine tuberculosis. Back in the present, Nock finds out through the newspaper that Alan was convicted on charges of homosexuality, and instead of fulfilling 2 years of a jail sentence, he underwent chemical castration so that he can continue his work on Christopher. The scene cuts to Joan visiting Alan at his home. She's devastated to see Alan in a miserable state due to his physical and mental weaknesses. Alan's hands keep twitching and he's unable to even grip a pen. Joan comforts him and makes him realize that had he not created Christopher, millions of lives wouldn't have been saved. The film ends with an epilogue, revealing that after a year of government-mandated hormonal therapy, Alan committed suicide on June 7, 1954, when he was 41 years old. Between 1885 and 1967, approximately 49,000 homosexual men were convicted of gross indecency under British law. In 2013, Queen Elizabeth II granted Alan a posthumous royal pardon, honoring this unprecedented achievement which saved over 14 million lives. Alan's brilliant work on Christopher eventually became the basis of the modern-day computer. This movie has a rating of 8.0 on IMDb. The budget of this movie was around $14 million, and at the box office, it earned $233.6 million. I hope you all like this video. If yes, then make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more movie recaps.